hope as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on GBNews, the People's Channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Very good evening to you. It's 11 o'clock. I'm Ben Leo, and this is Ben Leo Tonight, late edition. Coming up, no cash for assisted dying, warns the Health Secretary Wes Streeting. He's told MPs, in a pretty bombshell statement on Facebook, no less, they've made the wrong decision. He says, look, there's no money for assisted dying, so what was that vote about? And all the drama in the Commons. Elsewhere, do you remember that Chinese mega embassy set for London? Well, surprise, surprise, according to the Sunday Times, it's been recommended for approval by Angela Raina's department. Elsewhere, talking of the Deputy PM, here comes the wrecking ball. Business chiefs are being urged to fight Angela Raina's new Labour laws. And talking of Labour, Sir Keir Starmer announces he wants to ban Irish group Kneecap from Glastonbury. Should the Prime Minister be getting involved about who performs at a music festival? Elsewhere, Nigel Farage is on track for the keys to number 10 as a new poll shows he could win a massive majority if an election were held tomorrow. 34% of the vote, the highest Reform's ever had in an opinion poll. And bit of royal news. On his 43rd birthday, royal insiders give an insight into how Prince William plans to change the monarchy and make it, quote, fit for purpose. Joining me this evening, the former Met Police Detective Peter Blexley, the former Labour Special Advisor Paul Richards, and here she is for the late edition GB News contributor, former headliner Cressida Wetton. But first, let's get your news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good evening to you from the newsroom. The top story tonight, more than 1,000 migrants have now crossed the English Channel illegally so far this weekend. 437 arrived on Friday, with close to 600 others making the journey today. Border Force and lifeboats have responded to at least 9 small boats in UK waters. Earlier this morning, one group was forced to disembark off the French coast as officers slashed their vessel to prevent yet another launch. The surge in arrivals comes as the Prime Minister is now admitting the crisis in the Channel is, he says, deteriorating. At least 8 people have died in Brazil after a hot air balloon crashed in the south of the country. There were 21 people known to be on board when the balloon came down. Police say a fire broke out in the basket mid-air, with survivors jumping moments before the balloon lost lift and fell. 13 people, including the pilot, survived and were taken to hospital. The Israel-Iran conflict has entered its 9th day now, with strikes intensifying on both sides. Israel says it's hit dozens of military targets in southwest Iran, including a university, an emergency centre and a nuclear facility. In response, Iranian drones entered Israeli airspace earlier today as the region now teeters on the edge of further escalation. Iran has warned US involvement would be very dangerous as casualties continue to rise, over 400 known to be dead in Iran and 25 in Israel. Meanwhile, a British man has been arrested in Cyprus accused of spying for Iran and plotting a terror attack near a key RAF base. Local media there say the suspect, linked to Iran's Revolutionary Guard, was caught with a long-lens camera and 3 phones, watching the UK's key military airbase. He was tracked to a flat near Limassol and arrested. Israel says the plot targeted Israeli citizens. The UK Foreign Office says it's in contact with authorities over what some are calling a spy in plain sight. Home Secretary is set to brand Palestine Action a terrorist group, calling their methods criminal and extreme. It comes after activists broke into RAF Bryce Norton and sprayed red paint into the engine of a military jet. Counter-terror police are now on the case. The group has been behind a wave of stunts in recent months, targeting London offices and even defacing Donald Trump's golf course in Scotland. They say they're exposing what they call blood-soaked ties between Britain and Israel's arms trade. Brought back to the surface 10 months after sinking off the coast of Sicily, Mike Lynch's super yacht has now been salvaged today after the accident last August that killed the British tech tycoon, his teenage daughter and 5 others. A report found the vessel likely capsized in a powerful storm. Crews used one of Europe's biggest maritime cranes to lift the 56-metre yacht from the seabed, revealing extensive damage to the hull. And the UK is sweltering in a heatwave, hitting a new high today, recording 33.2 in Surrey, making it the hottest day of the year so far. But as the heat peaks, a yellow storm warning is now in force across northern England, North Wales and the Scottish borders, with flash floods, hail and even lightning possible. All this as thousands gathered this morning to watch the sunrise at Stonehenge, marking the longest and now the hottest day of the year. That's the news on GB News. Plenty more still to come right here. Don't go anywhere.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to news alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome along to Ben Leo Tonight, late edition. Another hour of front pages, of big stories, of breaking news. Let's start with the headlines for tomorrow's Sunday newspapers. The Observer we'll kick off with. Closing in, Iran, it may as well be Islam. Iran governed the country, Khamenei once governed the country, now he commands a bunker. This is the Iranian supreme leader. More than 20 Iranian commanders have been killed. That's as President Trump sends B-2 bombers to Guam. Will he get involved in the conflict? All eyes on the US. The Sunday Mirror. My Pal Wills brings hope to planet. Eco-campaigner Robert Irwin on William's mission as the Prince of Wales turns 43. Happy birthday, William. Wonder if Harry's invited to the party. The Sunday Telegraph. RAF base targeted in Iran by spy plot. I mean, this is insane. British man accused of espionage in Cyprus as Trump dispatches B-2 bombers from the US. The NHS is sending patients abroad to the likes of Poland, Lithuania and the Czech Republic to bring down waiting lists. And just at the bottom there, news to Paul Richard's ears, Nigel Farage on course to be Prime Minister after the next election. The Independent. It was a lovely, sweltering day today, wasn't it? Thank goodness for global warming. Sweating by the sea on the hottest day of the year. That's a picture of Margate. And the story, at last, hope for end to cruel experiment of indefinite jail terms. So this is the public protection jail terms, which has seen the likes of shoplifters given disgusting sentences. I mean, in prison still, for up to 20 years after the fact. Hopefully, we're getting some reform. The Sun on Sunday, something about some celebs and acid fiends and steroids. But up the top right-hand side, interesting story which we'll discuss next. The Prime Minister's getting involved. He's written for The Sun on Sunday saying that Kneecap, the Irish band who are pro-Hezbollah and Hamas and whoever else, he wants them banned from Glastonbury. Should a Prime Minister be getting involved in such a thing, especially at a time like this when we're on the brink of, potentially world war, lots of issues in the UK to be talking about? The Sunday Express. The Home Office is chasing £50 million owed by firms making massive profits from asylum hotels. Hopefully it wants the money by April, 50 million quid. The Mail on Sunday. Tories have told business chiefs in the UK, fight Labour union laws or sleepwalk into disaster. Raina's workers' bill is wrecking ball for the UK economy. Big concerns about Angela Raina's employment bill. The Sunday Times. Wes Streeting has said tonight, or at least today, there's no NHS cash for assisted dying. He went on Facebook, of all places, to say that the NHS needs to prioritise its money, and there just isn't any, really, for assisted dying. So I've been asking the question over the past 2 hours, what was all the bother and the drama in the Commons this week for, then? What was the point of it all? And down the bottom right-hand side, China mega embassy approved. I mean, again, if you thought things were bad in this country, they just seem to get worse. A Chinese super embassy has been recommended for approval by the Planning Inspectorate, a decision expected to be waved through by the Housing Secretary, Angela Raina. This is despite British intelligence warning about its location and the espionage risk. Plans were revived after President Xi's personal lobbying. Of course they were. Right, welcome to my panel. Peter Blexley's here. You've moved seats. The former Scotland Yard police detective, the former Labour Special Advisor, Paul Richards, is also here. And I'm joined, of course, by former headliner Cressida Wetton. Welcome along, Cressida, to
Thanks
Benleo
for having me, Ben.
Edition. How are you doing? Did you survive in the balmy temps today?
It was so warm. Yes, I've even been on the Underground tonight, so I had like a badge of honour for that.
Oh, goodness me.
Yeah.
As I say, thank goodness for global warming, eh? I like a bit of balmy temps. Should we talk about this Sun front page panel? Sir Keir Starmer, as I've just said, all sorts going on all across the world, all sorts going on in England, in the UK, the economy, the small boats invasion, the NHS on its knees, society crumbling, an island of strangers, in his own words. But yet, the Prime Minister has written for The Sun on Sunday, here's the front page, let's get it up, saying that he wants to ban kneecap from Glastonbury. Paul, good use of his time?
Well, it is linked, you know, because this band have, you know, political views about things like Hamas and what's going on in the Middle East. And the question is, you know, should the BBC then be broadcasting their views via the Glastonbury Festival to the nation at a time when we are on a war footing? And I think the PM has a right to, you know, make the views that he's made clear. I mean, Glastonbury, let's face it, is just full of the over-50s people who shop at Waitrose.
Is it over 50s?
It's not a radical, platform particularly, but I just think, you know, there have to be limits, don't there?
Is it over 50s, Cressida? Not that there's anything wrong, of course, with over 50s, but I thought Glasgow was quite a young crowd.
The last time I went was 2008, so I don't know, I haven't checked in, but
1990 was the last time I went, but there
wasn't even a fence in those days.
No.
It's getting increasingly expensive, isn't it? People are getting mega yurts. I saw that people are spending £16,000 to go, which is pretty mind, but not everyone, but just the super posh. So, it's not what it was. What I find bizarre about this is that there'll be so many people who are, I mean, there are still young people there who won't like this. So it's like another sort of bad move from Keir in terms of not impressing people. I mean, I agree with him. I don't think they should be there. I don't think that he should have to ban them. But...
Well, no, you make a good point. The crowd at Glasgow, Peter, would absolutely love to see kneecap. They'll be waving their Palestine flags and their Hezbollah placards. You know, the Glasgow crowd would love it.
OK, I'm a firm believer in protecting free speech. And you can't have an each-way bet with free speech. It's one thing or t'other. A member of kneecap has been charged with a criminal offence, but one of the fundamental core parts of our British justice system, which that fool Starmer seems to have forgotten, is that you are innocent until proven guilty. He's not yet been convicted. So they can go to Glasgow and all the BBC cameras will be there, and if they want to express any support for Hamas or Hezbollah or say anything that breaches any kind of counter-terrorism rule, nick them and charge them again. Hoist them by their own petard.
So you think in the meantime, until we get a verdict or, you know, he pleads guilty or goes to trial, whatever, this kneecap guy who's been done... So he's been charged for waving a Hezbollah flag at a gig last year.
Innocent until proven guilty, and we support free speech.
But why should we give them the oxygen of publicity? They are obviously trying to flog records by, you know, this notoriety. It's self-serving, narcissistic nonsense. Why should the BBC broadcast that?
Do you believe in free speech? Do you want to protect it?
Up to a point.
It's not an each-way bet. You know, you're a progressive lefty.
I certainly
am. And then you're saying, what, you want to ban them?
Well, I don't
support... I think the BBC should, as you said, the BBC should just do it anyway if they don't want to promote that. I don't really understand why the PM has to get involved. As you said, he's got bigger fish to fry.
Let them wave the flags. Let them sing things that breach the law. And as they come off stage, I'll be there. Hello, sunshine, you're nicked.
So,
I mean, it was bad enough when Jeremy Corbyn did it. You know, never mind this lot. So, I mean, when they're all the old Jeremy Corbyn crowd...
And let's hope it rains.
Peter, I quite liked it for some weird reason then when you said that. Do it again, so you're nicked. Remind me of the Bill back in
Hello,
the day.
sunshine. You're Nick.
Yeah, there we go.
Sweeney, surely, not the Bill.
No,
Sweeney,
I'm a lad of the Bill era. Love the Bill. Great. So Keir Starmer said in The Sun, he was asked if he thought Kneecap, the Irish trio, should perform at Glasgow, to which he replied, "No, I don't, and I think we really need to come down clearly on this. This is about the threats that shouldn't be made. I won't say too much because there's a court case on, but I don't think that's appropriate." Kemi Badenoch separately as well has tweeted. She said, where is it? She said that the BBC shouldn't be rewarding extremism, basically.
These stupid people who want to bang on about protecting free speech and then they come out with tripe like that. Let them hang themselves. Let them perform. Let them hang themselves and then let them get nicked.
What's your favourite Kneecap song, Peter?
Let me think about that.
Kneecap, greatest hits. No, only joking. Right, let's look at the Sunday Times. Really interesting story at the top. Johnny Depp, the actor, has come out. He's given a really sort of heartfelt interview saying that he was a crash test dummy for Me Too. Over a rambling 4-hour session with Jonathan Dean, Depp has apparently, I mean, rambling in their words, not mine. I quite like Johnny Depp. He's opened up about the Amber Heard trials, his painful childhood, 40 years of fame, and the friends who turned their back on him, notably during the Amber Heard trial. Cressida, are you a fan of Johnny Depp?
Yeah, I think he's a good bloke. I watched bits of this trial. I don't know if he was a crash test dummy. I mean, it was almost post-Me Too, wasn't it? I think he's got his dates wrong. But having said that, I mean, I think it was interesting. When this started, we had the era of Believe All Women, and this was so... it was quite striking, wasn't it? We came out of it thinking, maybe listen to everybody before you make your mind up.
Yeah.
Never underestimate the ability of an actor to be self-absorbed, darling.
Well, they're both actors, aren't they? So
Indeed.
there was a lot of that going on both sides, I guess.
What do you think of Me Too now?
Well, you have to say the obligatory. Of course, it's done a lot of good, and it has done a lot of good, but I think it's also done a lot of harm. And at the time when it was all kicking off, I was working in comedy clubs, and I saw a few guys really get hauled over the coals unfairly, I would say. People put on lists and things like that. There was a lot of the process being the punishment. I saw that happen a lot.
Yeah, OK. Interesting. All right.
Were they intolerant progressives?
There was a bit of that, Peter, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you've got to take it on a case-by-case basis, but the whole Me Too movement, I think... Did you ever see The Morning Show on Apple TV?
No.
No, it's about a TV breakfast show. Yeah, it's very funny. Anyway, we move on. Prince William, it's his 43rd birthday. Peter, are you a big fan of the monarchy? He's come out today and, I mean, there's a big royal exclusive in the Sunday Times. His plan to take over the reins, basically, in more than one sense. Do you think he'll make a good king, Prince William?
Oh, well, what I'd give to be 43 again, the lucky devil. Yeah, he says he's going to look under the bonnet and find out what works and what doesn't work for the royal family. I think perhaps he's almost preparing to take the baton on from his dad, who's shrunk the royal family quite considerably. So perhaps William's going to do that. And let's face it, he's got a job on his hand. Whether you love him or you loathe him, the Republican movement is a growing thing. Yeah. I'm not saying it's about to be a majority anytime soon. Of course it isn't. But it's not going away. And I think for the royal family to survive throughout the 21st century, it will have to move with the times, of course.
The Sunday Times says they've done an interview with a friend of Prince William, which, if you're familiar with journalism or the way Fleet Street works, if you have quotes from a friend or, you know, a source close to so-and-so, most of the time it tends to be that person themselves. Anyway, a friend has told the Sunday Times, which I think is William himself, he just doesn't want to go on the record. He said, Prince William has definitely been thinking a lot about how things will evolve over time. When the moment comes, he'll want to do it his way, genuinely, not just following a script. He's not afraid to dig into the details, ask the tough questions and figure out what actually works. He wants to make sure the whole thing has even more impact and remains relevant. And I think that includes no Prince Harry and also ditching the Wessexes, no more Sophie.
I mean, the only true royal tradition is change. If you look at the history of them over the 1,000 years, they have constantly reinvented themselves to take into account modern circumstances, turning it into a royal family in the 60s, the Way Ahead group that the Queen chaired, you know, looking at how the firm develops in the modern age through social media and all the rest of it. And he's now in that tradition. And, you know, it is difficult to navigate because in the modern world, it's odd to have this, you know, hereditary institution. But he seems to be somebody willing to modernise modernised. And I think, it's only really a modernised monarchy that will survive. If it tries to stay in its, in its rut, it will be swept aside.
But the more, if it gets diluted, it's no longer the royal family, is it? And people that love the royals, they want to see the royals.
Well, as they say, if you shine light on it, the magic disappears. That was always the argument.
OK, after the break, Paul, we'll talk about Angela Rayner's Workers' Bill. I'm sure you've got some thoughts on that. The Tories tonight have written to British business and demanded they fight back against what they call a wrecking ball for the UK economy. Wouldn't be the first one. And also more drama at BBC Breakfast. I take no pleasure in reporting this, but apparently, according to the Mail on Sunday, Naga Munchetti is considering jumping ship to Sky News amid the BBC bullying row. In the meantime, time now for the Great British Giveaway. Your chance to win £54,321, our biggest cash prize to date. Here's Hayley Sparks with all the details.
We're here at Downhall in Essex to enjoy the finer things in life, and it's your chance to win £54,321 in cash. It's like having an extra £1,000 in your bank account each week for a whole year, which means that you'd be able to indulge in treats whenever you wanted to. That extra cash each week could send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing this year, to enable you to sit back, relax and do nothing. Make sure you don't miss out on our biggest cash giveaway to date.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Coming up, I'll tell you about the poor people who got stuck on a broken down train on the hottest day of the year. I've got a theory, which we'll discuss in a second. I'm not sure about you at home, but I think we should, one of the benefits of global warming, of course, is great weather, and I'm all here for it. But I think we should divert net zero funds to installing aircon all across the country. Trains, and I know they're on trains, but they don't work half the time. Public institutions, buildings, schools, and so on. Aircon in every home and every building of Great Britain. Let's do it. This is Ben Leo Tonight, late edition. Back in a tick.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, weekdays from 9 p.m.
Should we be paying more for the BBC, do you think?
Yes, in the short term. It's for a cost of a cappuccino a week. You don't only get all the television channels, you get all the radio channels, local news, you get the websites, you get World Service, a significant amount of that. You've got a vast range of things. It's not just a television licence. And the BBC licence fee, in real terms, has gone down about 40% in 15 years. What I think we need is two things. One is an immediate increase, significant increase, so we stabilise the situation.
Go on, how much, Roger? What's the fee?
Hold on.
Well, tell me how much.
Then, secondly, hold on. We need to have a proper debate publicly about whether we want public service broadcasting, how we want to deliver it, and how we want to pay for it. The BBC has cut as much as it can. We should now have a public debate about what we want.
OK. All right, the BBC's cut as much as it can. I mean, grief. I would love to try to see the BBC try to operate on the kind of budget.
I thought you were chairman, objective chairman here. It was a head-to-head with this lady, and you were going to be an objective chairman.
Yeah, well, you decided not to answer any of my questions. But anyway, June, I'll put this one to you. Well, what do you think about the money?
Yes.
June, what do you think about the money being paid for the BBC? Should we pay more?
In 2020, you lost 80, let's have a look, 80,000. And then by 2023 to 24, That went up to 500,000 licence fees not being paid. That's because they don't want the product. A lot of the reason is the biased side of the news, which is why people watch GB News. The programme making, I can understand the creative part of it, but what you've got to look at from the public's point of view is they pay their licence whether they're using all those facilities or not.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, late edition. Let's look at the front page of the Mail on Sunday tomorrow. Angela Raina's getting some stick, actually, on two fronts. First of all, because of the Chinese embassy situation, which we'll talk about. But the Mail on Sunday focuses on this call from Tory members, Tory MPs, who are telling business chiefs in the UK, fight Labour union laws or sleepwalk into disaster. So, Cressida, British businesses have been urged to rise up and fight Angela Raina's crippling new Labour laws amid dire warnings of the devastating effects they will wreak on the economy. What's your thoughts?
Well, obviously, what we should be doing is getting President Xi to give her a letter saying, please don't do it. But it'd probably be up his street, wouldn't it? I can't imagine he'd want to do that.
Yeah. OK, well, that's it. Yeah, there we go. On that bombshell. All right, Paul.
Well, this is the Daily Mail, and the Daily Mail has been saying, don't change Labour laws, you know, don't get the unions. They've been saying this since children were going up chimneys. They said it about the national minimum wage, and the Tories said that would cost 1 million jobs, and it didn't. And now they're saying it about these reforms that...
Can you remind us what she wants to do in these reforms?
Well, for example, 0 hours contracts, where people are just waiting for a phone call to see whether they've got a job or not.
Well, some people love them. I've worked 0 hour contracts before, and they're great.
And so do I, and they have to have some flexibility. But the people are utterly reliant on them and they're just not working and they don't know what they're doing that day is not fair. People being harassed in the workplace, that's not fair.
What defines harassment?
Well, that's what the law will determine, isn't it? But people should be allowed to go to work and feel safe and well, get a decent wage, come home to their families at a reasonable hour, you know, and the workplace shouldn't be a place that makes you ill or it makes you poor.
My only concern is, Paul, that you've... Sorry, Peter, go on.
So a large part of what the concerns about this proposed bill are revolves around Section 20, and it puts an obligation upon employers to protect their employees, which in essence doesn't sound a bad thing, but if... and it's the point is kind of being manipulated into this kind of situation. Should, say, for example, somebody working in a pub serve 6 pints of beer to 6 lads at a table, and those 6 lads are having a conversation, something of which the person delivering the pints to them sees as being problematic, then there's an onus on the owner of that premises to make some proviso for their employee. But the law and so this is why they're coming up with an expression like banter bouncers and the such.
Right.
But the law, as proposed, is saying that there should be reasonable steps by an employer to stop somebody being put in a situation. Now, you know, a bit of banter is one thing. We're talking about barmaids having their arses slapped or having people being harassed in the work.
Yeah, but there's already laws against that, Paul.
And this is saying that it's on the...
Yeah, that's an assault.
It's on the employer to create a nice workplace for people. Now, what's wrong with that?
Well, because it's how do you enforce it and how do you decide where it's appropriate and where it isn't? And my concern is...
That's why it's going through Parliament.
Well,
that's why the law...
I look forward to that, but...
If Cressida says to me after the show tonight, Ben, that was a really rubbish show, I mean, is that harassment?
No,
can I go and cry to the boss about it?
Not, no.
Cressida's
exactly.
harassment?
Obviously not.
What do we say? Obviously not. I mean, there were some mega snowflakes around who do that kind of thing.
Well,
look at Dominic Raab. Dominic Raab, great example. In the, whatever department he was in, you know, he was almost hounded out of a job. In fact, maybe he did resign, I can't remember, because he wanted high standards of work. And a bunch of lefty snowflake civil servants went and cried about it. Progressives, yeah. So, I mean, what
people to feel safe and well at work, and what's wrong with that? And the Mail have been campaigning against anything that makes it better for workers for hundreds of years. But
because it's not clear enough. It's not clear. And if you don't know when you're going to break a law, it's very difficult to adhere to it. And so what will happen is it will be unfairly... my fear is it will be unfairly used.
Well, I think that's why it needs to go through the legislative process, and the Lords and the rest have to look at it and make it work. And also, you know, people should have the right to join trade unions. I'm a member of 3 trade unions.
Once the intolerant progressives get hold of it and the melts and so on and so forth, it'll be another wonderful nosedive for this formerly great nation.
Yeah, and
wait and see.
With employers' national insurance as well, I mean, who'd want to run a business these days? You've got to make sure that your lefty, snowflake-sensitive employees aren't offended half the time. Then you've got to pay increased national insurance. You know, it's...
That's if they're not working from home. The little treasures.
Exactly.
But happy workers are more productive, actually, aren't they? So if you pay people well and you treat them well and you're decent to one another, it's better for the economy.
Let's talk about Angela Rayner's potential action in waving through the Chinese embassy in central London. Cressida, have you heard about this? So the British intelligence, all the spooks have said, do not approve this embassy. Anyway, it's been approved and it's been potentially green-lighted down the line by Raina.
It's just unbelievable, isn't it? The location is unbelievable. They've been advised not to do it and they're doing it anyway. It doesn't seem like a good move to me. It makes Labour look ridiculous.
I stress again, it hasn't been taken as a decision yet, and Angela Rayner has not green-lighted this. So let's all write to her, let's email her this evening and tell her not to do it. But the decision has not been taken.
What's your issue with the Chinese, Cressida?
Well,
the CCP, more specifically.
I don't think, as my colleague Kerry Marks once put it, it turns out they're not actually our fairy godmother. I don't think they've got our best interests at heart. And this is in the middle of London. This is a location that's obviously massively sensitive. It's just highly inappropriate.
Nor of the... Yes, so you're absolutely right. The Chinese have not got our best interests at heart, nor of the Russians, nor of the Iranians. We live in an increasingly tense world. Now is the time for our politicians on our behalf to choose our friends very carefully.
Our lads, nor have the British government.
Eh?
Nor have the British government got our best intentions at heart, I'd argue.
Oh, Strauss.
Talking of the British government, on the front page of the Sunday Telegraph, Nigel Farage. Remember him? He's leading the polls with Reform UK, their biggest poll result to date. 34% Cressida, ahead of Labour's, I think it's around 25%. The Tories on 14 or 15. The Telegraph tomorrow says that Nigel Farage is a Prime Minister in waiting, according to this poll.
Well, this is what we keep seeing, isn't it? And every now and again something happens. There's been the scuffles in Reform, let's say that. Every time something happens to Nigel, he always comes out looking cool. He's like the Fonz, isn't he? He just bounces really well each time there's a scandal, don't you think?
What's the coolest thing about Nigel Farage?
That he's unflappable. I mean, can you imagine Keir Starmer going through the same things? You know, I just think he does well in a crisis, doesn't he?
Everything he touches, you know, he's Midas in reverse. Every party he's led, all the relationships within politics, he falls out with everybody. You know, he may be the dominant figure, but you can't run a government based on that. And I don't think he's anywhere near government.
He won the Brexit vote.
Well, he did, didn't he?
He's the only party leader in the UK to win two elections with 2 different parties.
And most people now think Brexit was a mistake.
No, they don't. According to what?
According to the pollers.
And most people who are polled...
Hang on a minute. Stop the press. Stop the press. Paul Richards, 1 second, says this is some guff poll. Literally, you said in the break, this is a guff poll that puts Reform top of the polls. Nobody cares about polls. They don't mean anything.
Didn't say that. I said they weren't predictors of the future.
Wait.
They were snapshots, not predictors.
And then, Paul, in the next sentence, you say most people, according to polls, don't agree with Brexit. So let's have it out now, Paul. Do polls exist? Are they worthy of paying attention to or not?
Well, a poll that says Farage is going to be Prime Minister is garbage because it's not a predictor of the future. But a poll that says a lot of people have got disquiet about Brexit, most people do worry about what the impact of Brexit is.
Yeah, in the fantasy in your head, I think.
Most lefties are terrified at the prospect of Nigel Farage actually becoming Prime Minister. Yeah. It's a possibility.
Well, anything's possible, but, you know... I mean, I like him on an individual basis. When I met him in the GBNews studios, he's a perfectly nice man. I don't think... Oh, yeah? Maybe he...
Did you speak to him?
Yeah, I did.
What did he say to you?
Well, we have a chat. He's a very personable chap, isn't he? You know him too. But, you know, is he the right man to be the Prime Minister of our great nation? I don't believe so. All
right, well, one thing we've established from this brief conversation is Paul Richards has shockingly dual standards when it comes to polls.
I think that's unfair.
Right. Now, to a shocking story. This blew my mind tonight. If you've only just tuned into the show tonight, get a load of this, because a Lebanese takeaway, a restaurant in North London, has released a video promoting its food by including pictures of Iranian ballistic missiles hitting civilians in Israel. This went viral overnight tonight, and in actual fact, it's had loads of support from people in this country. Take a look. Oh, dearie me, Cressida. So this is a North London takeaway. They think using Iranian ballistic missiles to advertise kebabs is a good thing. It's
unbelievable, isn't it? But as you say, they think this is going to work. It's a small business. They're doing this because they think it's going to help their business.
I'd argue it has worked.
Well, there you go. I mean, we're talking about it for a start.
What does that say about the states of the country, where you've got people doing this and people, you know, big swathes of residents in the area approving of it?
Well, it's very worrying, isn't it? It's upsetting. I'm totally stuck. When I first saw it, I didn't even think it was real, and apparently it is. It blows my mind.
There are so many people in this great nation that despise it, and they are taking a mickey, they are bleeding it dry, and if they had any chance of taking over, they would. And those kind of people support that kind of nonsense. But if you're a progressive, or if you're a lefty, when you say that, when you stand up and say that, we've got so many people in this country that hate it and they should be banished.
Yeah, that video is all that's wrong with this country, I think. Peter, as well, I've come to the conclusion over the past 2.5 hours that you don't particularly like people left of the argument.
I don't like intolerant progressives. I don't like people who are hypocrites. And I love this nation. Yep. I absolutely love Britain. I'm 65. I grew up in a very, very different Britain to the one today.
Does it make you upset? Do you ever get sort of sad about it? I mean, what's your feelings? Is it anger? Is it frustration? Do you get sad?
Concern. Deep concern. Of course, I've got friends of all different colours, race and creeds, and that is a result of migration over the years, which by and large was managed, and they are people who have integrated, and they are as British as bacon and eggs. They really are. But what we've seen in the last 3 decades or so is uncontrolled, unparalleled migration into this country, both legal and illegal, and the very nature, fabric, culture, structure of this country is being eroded.
Well said, well said. I indeed love Britain as well. You know, sorry to get serious about this, but I love Britain. I know for a fact you guys at home love the country as well, and that's why we're so concerned about it. But I do think it's darkest before the dawn. I think we need a little bit more pain from this Labour government before many, many people, maybe even those who aren't particularly engaged in politics or the news, start to wake up and think something's not quite right with the direction of travel here. And I think, and I hope we will be OK. I'm sure we will, because we're a great country. I take it as well, you won't be going to that Lebanese restaurant tomorrow, Peter?
Most certainly not.
No. All right, coming up, we'll talk about 2 shocking incidents at the RAF bases. Well, of course, Brize Norton in the UK and the one on Cyprus, where tonight, some breaking news. A British man has been arrested for allegedly spying for Iran and plotting a terror attack on the RAF base on Cyprus. I mean, another deeply concerning story. And by the way, it's time up for the Supreme Leader of Iran, America. Donald Trump is sending B-2 bombers to Diego Garcia. It seems like the US, unless Donald Trump is playing games, the US will imminently be getting involved in that conflict between Iran and Israel. Right decision? This is Ben Leo Tonight, the latest edition.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. For some of us, this first half of the weekend could be ending with a bang, particularly for northern areas of England into southern Scotland. There's potential for some severe thunderstorms to push through during the next few hours. Large hail, frequent lightning and some torrential downpours of rain are possible, so do take care. A few sharp showers and localised thunderstorms are possible elsewhere, particularly Northern Ireland into western Scotland during the second half of the night. But up in the northwest, it's going to be feeling fresher during this forthcoming night, but still holding on to quite a muggy feel across parts of the southeast as we kick off Sunday morning. There'll be a touch of cloud just clearing off the southeast first thing, but it generally is here where we'll have the brightest start to the day. A decent amount of sunshine in there already. Temperatures readily in the morning, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. The cloud will tend to build though, and that's because we've got showers pushing their way in from the west, particularly for areas of western and northern Scotland first thing on Sunday. Again, they could be on the sharp, heavy side at times. But they'll continue to spread into other areas during the day. So Northern Ireland and northern areas of England in particular could see a downpour from time to time. There'll be some sunny spells in between all of that, and it will be quite a breezy day for the vast majority of us, though that breeze may help it make it feel a touch more comfortable compared to the hot days we have had around of late. Still the high 20s possible across the south east, 27, 28 degrees Celsius, but closer towards average now, 15 to 18 across the northwest. Into the new week then, low pressure is going to be taking control and providing a more changeable and settled fume at times. Quite tightly spaced isobars mean it will be quite breezy and blustery for many of us into this new week. The showers though will always be most frequent and heaviest up towards the north, closer towards the centre of the area of low pressure. Those towards the southern half of the UK should see a decent amount of sunshine in there on Monday, and in that sunshine it will still feel fresher though compared to the highs that we've seen around of late, around the mid-20s of Celsius. See you later. Bye-bye.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GBNews, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, late edition. Let's have a quick run through of tomorrow's paper front pages. The Sunday Telegraph reads, RAF base targeted in Iran's spy plot. And of course, the NHS is sending patients abroad to the likes of Lithuania, Czech Republic and Poland to bring down the waiting list. The Sunday Express, £50 million asylum hotels fast. The Home Office is chasing £50 million from private companies who are making vast sums, much more than that figure, by housing 32,000 asylum seekers. Hopefully they'll be paid in April. The Sunday Times, Wes Streeting has said the NHS has no cash for assisted dying. The Independent, at last, hope for end to cruel experiment on indefinite jail terms. The Observer, closing in, more than 20 Iranian commanders have so far been killed in Israel's offensive. The Sun on Sunday, TV Fern acid-free fiend gets steroid jab in jail. And at the top there, Sir Keir Starmer has called for the Irish band Kneecap, who apparently support Hezbollah and Hamas, to be banned from Glastonbury. The Sunday Mirror, My Pal Wills brings hope to the planet. That's on Prince William's 43rd birthday. It's a call from his friend, an eco-activist, urging him to get involved more in eco-action. And, yeah, I think that's it. And the Mail on Sunday, Angela Raina has been slammed for her workers' rights bill. Right, Palestine action activists are now feared to have caused up to £55 million in damage, I reckon even more, to Britain's defence industry. So over the past 5 years, they've launched, get this, 356 separate attacks on UK sites that target firms supplying the British military. We spoke to an expert earlier today, and here's that footage again, just as a reminder of what happened at RAF Bryce Norton. In on electric scooters, paint into the Voyager aircraft engines, destroying the runway as well. Cressida, what's your take on Palestine action? 356 separate incidents in the last couple of years, £55 million worth of damage. Are Labour right to try and designate them as a terrorist group?
Yeah, I think they are, because it's totally inappropriate, isn't it? It's I mean, the fact that they got in at all is appalling. But what they're doing is I believe it is of a terrorist nature, because it's interfering with our defence, and that's absolutely not on. They should be prescribed, and the cost is just eye-watering, isn't it? I mean, it's appalling.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a mechanism to actually go after the money and, take their homes off them and, seize their bank accounts or whatever else it may take to get some of this money back. I mean, this is a government which is, hugely increasing the amount of money going into the defence industries and taking it off the overseas aid budget. But we need the industries to be allowed to get on and do it and not have these people smash it up. I do wonder also, you were calling for a sacking, but I think it should be more of a wake-up call and just make sure...
Are you joking?
No,
what,
I'm
you
not.
think nobody...
No.
Paul,
I'm
20 years ago, the defence sec would have resigned over this. Somebody needs to resign. Somebody needs to lose their jobs. You cannot have a country, you cannot have a nation like Great Britain, who, by the way, used to rule the world. We had the British Empire, we ran things. And now we have two Palestine morons going on electric scooters into RAF Bryce Norton and destroying Voyager planes. And you don't think people should be sacked?
No, I think it should serve as a wake-up call. And so we double the security around these bases, in Cyprus as well as in Bryce Norton and elsewhere, so that it can't happen again. That's the best outcome.
It's a catastrophic security breach. Even if...
So what do you do about it?
Hang on a second, please. Even if the security had been outsourced to a private company. I've worked for a private company, leading security details at major events like Wimbledon, for example, on night shifts there. And I have worked tirelessly to encourage and motivate and make sure that people do their job properly. That kind of breach, no matter who is responsible for that security, is absolutely appalling and quite simply should not have happened.
They should all be sacked. They should all be down the job centre. Right, keeping in with the military theme, a breaking story tonight. The UK's cutting-edge aircraft have been left at an airport in India for more than a week after the Royal Navy failed to fix them. So the Navy fighter jets are worth £88 million. It's the F-35Bs. The Lightning jet is one of the world's most advanced and most expensive, £88 million each. And, it's been stranded in India because of an emergency landing last Sunday. I mean, Cressida, is this an embarrassment?
Well, it is an embarrassment, isn't it? It's another embarrassment. It's ridiculous. £88 million, again,
Paul, I think John Healey needs to resign.
I think he's a brilliant minister. I couldn't disagree with that more.
What the hell's going on with the armed forces?
John Healey is one of the best ministers in the government. He's absolutely got a grip on the job. Of all the people to target, Ben, it's not him.
Well, we've got fighter jets stranded in India. We've got RAF bases being invaded by Palestine morons. What more do you need to fall on your sword?
Well, I would see the commander of the base needs to be hauled in front of Parliament, in front of a select committee, and see what the hell went on in that case. And if, there are breaches in security there may be the same elsewhere, and we need to deal with that because, as we said at the top of the show, we are on a war footing now. There's clear Iranian threats to our security. There are plots that are being disrupted, but also others that we don't know about. And we need to up our game across all of these fronts. But just calling for people to be sacked isn't the answer.
So, Peter, if we're on a war footing and Iran cells are creeping across the country, people are getting nicked for espionage and terror plots are being foiled, why are we leaving £88 million fighter jets stranded in India?
Generally speaking, our military are the very best of us. The men and women are exceptional, those who actually do the job. But unfortunately, in recent years, those progressives that I've been talking about have taken over even the armed services to a large degree, and this is the kind of inefficiency they bring.
All right, let us know what you think about that. gbnews.com/more. More coming up after the break, including B-2 stealth bombers. There's a difference from the United States are moving to Guam. Is the US about to get involved in the Iran-Israel conflict? Back in just a tick.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The hot air that we've got across the UK on Saturday extends into France and Spain, but the chance of thunderstorms in these areas as well. Also the chance of thundery showers through Greece, but the islands should escape with sunny spells, albeit with a keen breeze. Through Italy, we've got plenty of sunny skies, but the Alps will see some lively weather with showers and thunderstorms, and those showers also affecting parts of Spain. But Portugal seeing largely sunny skies and plenty of sunshine through the outlook period.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our viewers and listeners. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say. Because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, late edition. Now, President Trump has given Iran 2 weeks until he makes a decision on whether to join Israel's attack on Iran. But new reports indicate the US is on a war footing with B-2 stealth bombers heading to Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. Joining us now is US commentator and author Ed Brodau. Ed, good evening. Thanks for your company. What does this mean that we have B-2 bombers now making their way to Diego Garcia? Is the US about to imminently get involved in this conflict?
I think so. I think it looks that way. In any event, Trump is covering his bases by bringing in the B-2 bombers and bringing in another aircraft carrier group and other support ships. So he's got all of his aces in the region if he decides to go ahead. And I really think that he will. I think this Fordo base needs to be taken out. It appears that we're the only ones who have the kind of a bomb that can bust this. The Fordo base is 300 feet below the surface, but these bunker buster bombs can take it out. So I think that's what he's leading up to. We'll see.
Right. Is this not incredibly serious? How are the Iranians going to respond? Is this the brink of world war, Ed?
Well, the Iranians are always screaming and making a lot of noise, but let's face it, what can they possibly do? Their military capabilities have been destroyed by the Israelis. If they should try to go after U.S. assets in the Middle East,
And where does this leave Trump politically, Ed? Because he was voted in on America First, no war basis. Lots of his supporters, the MAGA base, don't want war at all. They don't care what goes on 7,000 miles away. Where does this leave Trump politically?
Well, it's not going to bother him at all. He's doing what he thinks is best for the United States. And I think the best thing for the United States at this point is to take out Iran before they can develop a bomb.
OK, all right, we'll see. Well, look, as an update, breaking in the last few hours, those B-2 bombers have left the US. They're on the way to Guam and indeed Diego Garcia as well in the Indian Ocean. So I fear you are probably right, Ed, that we are imminently going to see the United States get involved in this war. Ed, thanks for your company. It's short and sweet. Apologies for that, but appreciate your company and hopefully catch up soon. Right, thank you to my panel. Peter, 3 hours, thank you for your company. Paul Richards and Cressler for the last hour or so. And indeed, thank you, viewers at home, for your company. I'll be back tomorrow night from 9 p.m. If you're watching at 5 a.m, because this show is repeated at 5 a.m, breakfast is next. Next up, though, it's your weather. More of the front pages will be coming imminently if you're going to be watching on breakfast. And they'll be getting stuck into the day's biggest stories in more depth as well. Thank you for your company. See you tomorrow night. Sweet dreams.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. For some of us, this first half of the weekend could be ending with a bang, particularly for northern areas of England into southern Scotland. There's the potential for some severe thunderstorms to push through during the next few hours. Large hail, frequent lightning and some torrential downpours of rain are possible, so do take care. A few sharp showers and localised thunderstorms are possible elsewhere, particularly Northern Ireland into western Scotland during the second half of the night. But up in the northwest, it's going to be feeling fresher during this forthcoming night, but still holding on to quite a muggy feel across parts of the southeast as we kick off Sunday morning. There'll be a touch of cloud just clearing off the southeast first thing, but it generally is here where we'll have the brightest start to the day. To a decent amount of sunshine in there already. Temperatures readily in the morning, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. The cloud will tend to build though, and that's because we've got showers pushing their way in from the west, particularly for areas of western and northern Scotland first thing on Sunday. Again, they could be on the sharp, heavy side at times. But they'll continue to spread into other areas during the day. So Northern Ireland and northern areas of England in particular could see a downpour from time to time. There'll be some sunny spells in between all of that, and it will be quite a breezy day for the vast majority of us, though that breeze may help it make it feel a touch more comfortable compared to the hot days we have had around of late. Still the high 20s possible across the south east, 27, 28 degrees Celsius, but closer towards average now, 15 to 18 across the northwest. Into the new week then, low pressure is going to be taking control and providing a more changeable and settled theme at times. Quite tightly spaced isobars mean it will be quite breezy and blustery for many of us into this new week. The showers though will always be most frequent and heaviest up towards the north, closer towards the centre of the area of low pressure. Those towards the southern half of the UK should see a decent amount of sunshine in there on Monday, and in that sunshine it will still feel fresher though compared to the highs that we've seen around of late, around the mid-20s of Celsius. See you later. Bye-bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£54,321 in totally tax-free cash could make your year the best yet. How would you react if you got that winning call?
Oh my God, I'm going to cry. Oh my God. Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Jubes, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I'm Dr. Renee, along with Will Kingston, Christo Fufas, Trey Lowe and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show, Christo.
Yes, we're going to be talking about aspiration and ambition being over in the UK.
The left still despises the working class.
Labour are the party of death.
There ain't no black in a Union Jack.
And think the unthinkable. It's time to rejoin the EU.
It's 6 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. Welcome to the Saturday 5, folks. And yes, I have somehow wrangled myself into the big seat. It feels good, really good. Never let it be said that I am a slow learner. After watching Alex Armstrong bulldoze his way to the top spot week after week like a man possessed, I finally put on my medical hat, diagnosed the situation, and before Alex could reach for a Lemsip, poof, he was gone. Just kidding, of course. Alex is on a well-deserved break and we're back next week, fully recharged and probably very resentful. Now, to the week's headlines. It really has been a two-topic wonder this week. On the one side, the ever-escalating drama in Iran, and as we sit here, the world holds its breath, hoping that World War III doesn't break out. And on the other, the long-overdue Pakistani rape gangs inquiry, which Labour finally backed after years of dismissing anyone calling for it right-wing. But hey, welcome to the right-wing, comrades. T's on the right, moral clarity's at the back, and no, we do not do trigger warnings. Meanwhile, breaking news, summer has arrived. Yes, the sun came out and Britain remembered that it had legs, and every park became a festival of burnt sausages and sunburnt dads refusing to wear sunscreen because sunscreen's for softies. Of course, this called for the usual public health panic. Stay hydrated, wear a hat, don't cook yourself like a Greggs sausage roll. You know, just the sort of brainy advice you'd expect from the same people who thought that clapping cured COVID. Anyway, by way of being responsible, Doctor, I made my own weather public health video to guide you to the appropriate reaction to this heatwave. Back home, Angela Raina is strutting around like the cat that got the cream, a ministerial pension and maybe half of B&Q. She reportedly outmanoeuvred Reeves in the spending round and secured a cool £39 billion of taxpayers' money for the house builders. A move that's either a genius economic stimulus or just a gift-wrapped bride with a big red bow. Either way, Ange celebrated in style. Rumour has it she was spotted high-fiving herself in the mirror while mouthing girl boss and ordering a flat white with taxpayers' tears. And of course, we want to know your views tonight as well, all of them. Send your views and post your comments by visiting gbnews.com your say. And don't forget to get your questions in for Ask the Five. No topics are off limits. We promise to answer them, so go for it. And don't forget to vote in the poll today. We're asking, should Britain follow the USA if it goes to war with Iran? Should Palestine Action be declared a terror group? Or is the new generation of weight loss drugs a good thing? But before we start tearing each other apart, it's your Saturday night news with Sam Francis.
Renee, thank you, and good evening to you. Breaking news tonight at 6. We're hearing a British man has been arrested in Cyprus on suspicion of espionage and terrorism offences. Local media there say he was spying on an RAF base and may have links to Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard. He was reportedly seen near the base with a long-lens camera and 3 phones and is accused of planning an imminent attack. The man was arrested on Friday after being tracked to a flat near Limassol, close to the UK's main airbase in the Middle East. The Foreign Office has said it is in contact with Cypriot authorities over the arrest. Also breaking tonight, GB News can confirm that nearly 1,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel illegally so far this weekend. 437 arrived on Friday, with more than 500 others making the journey already today. Border Force and lifeboats have responded to at least 9 small boats in UK waters. 2 more vessels were en route earlier in French waters, where new powers allow police to intercept boats 300 metres from shore. One group this morning was forced to disembark as officers slashed their vessel to prevent making another launch. In Brazil, at least 8 people are known to have died after a hot air balloon crashed in the south of the country. Officials say 21 people were on board when it came down in Santa Catarina state. Footage online showed the balloon catching fire before dramatically plunging to the ground. 13 survivors have been rescued so far, and emergency teams are still searching for any others. The state's governor has confirmed the deaths and called it a tragic accident. It comes just days after another fatal crash in Turkey left 19 people injured. Israel has launched yet another wave of strikes deep inside Iran on the 9th day of conflict between the two nations, killing a top commander and exposing cracks in Iran's intelligence network. Their foreign minister is warning United States involvement would be very dangerous, but the US president says he's not ready to tell Israel to back off just yet. Tehran is now refusing talks with the United States until bombing stops, while claiming its nuclear program is entirely peaceful. Foreign Secretary David Lammy, meanwhile, says the crisis is deadly serious and is warning diplomacy must win. Well, last night, Donald Trump addressed reporters about the crisis. Here's what he had to say, speaking in New Jersey.
The material that they've gathered already, it's a tremendous amount of material. And I think within a matter of weeks, or certainly within a matter of months, they're going to be able to have a nuclear weapon. We can't let that happen.
Back here at home, Dame Esther Ranson is urging the House of Lords not to block new assisted dying laws in England and Wales. It's after MPs backed the bill yesterday by just 23 votes. It would allow terminally ill adults with under 6 months to live to end their lives with medical help. Opponents, though, say the law is being rushed through without enough safeguards. But Dame Esther's daughter, Rebecca Wilcox, told us here at GB News the process has, she says, been careful and considered.
It is a gold star of assisted dying laws. In fact, in the case of it having so many safeguards within it, it's actually incredibly difficult to access it. And it brings in criminal prosecutions of up to life imprisonment for anybody that has been found guilty of coercion. That doesn't exist now. It's a brilliantly safe law that has been talked about for so long. It has not been rushed through. There's no such thing as a perfect law. We all know that. But this is pretty close.
Well, we'll take a look at the weather in just a moment, but first a breaking line to bring you from Belfast. We're just hearing police are investigating a potential attack on an Islamic centre in the city that could well be a hate crime, according to police in Northern Ireland. A viable device reportedly thrown through a window during evening prayers. The scene cordoned off overnight, and members of the public asked to avoid the area. So that detail just coming into us from the Northern Ireland Police, and the Secretary of Northern Ireland also saying that she is deeply concerned by what she has described as a shameful attack. We'll keep across any developments on that story for you throughout this evening. But you may well have noticed it certainly is hot outside. Summer has well and truly turned up the heat. 33.2 degrees recorded today in Surrey, making it the hottest day of the year so far. Temperatures could climb even higher tomorrow, with forecasters warning we might just hit 34 degrees Celsius, which would make it the hottest June day in 6 years. But it's not all sunshine. A yellow thunderstorm warning is in place for parts of northern England and Wales, with flash floods possible. And as the sun rose over Stonehenge this morning, record-breaking crowds welcome the summer solstice, marking the longest day and, well, now the hottest day of the year. That's it from me for now. I'll be back with you for another look at the top stories in an hour. Now, though, it's over to the Saturday 5.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
It's Saturday night and you're with the Saturday 5, and over the next 3 hours, the biggest debates, the hottest topics and entertaining interviews. But let's crack on with tonight's first debate, and because I've managed to get into Alex's seat, I am definitely going to do the first debate. So this was a dark week for the UK. Labour forced through 2 major legislative changes, neither of which they mentioned in their manifesto. In just 2 hours of debate, they decriminalised abortion at any stage in pregnancy. A law that did not need fixing was rushed through with barely a pause for scrutiny. Then, in just 95 hours of debate, they legalised state-sanctioned assisted suicide. For context, Parliament spent 700 hours debating fox hunting. These are literally life and death matters treated with less care than animal welfare. It is important to note that this was a free vote and MPs were not whipped to vote either way. You'll see here how they voted, and the votes in favour included 20 Conservatives and 2 of the 5 Reform MPs. Kim Ledbetter, who seems unusually fixated on this issue, filled the committee with supporters, silenced opposing voices and deliberately restricted debate. 3 royal colleges, the physicians, the psychiatrists and the pathologists, publicly disowned the bill. They said that they had been ignored in pursuit of absolutist principle above understanding. And the idea that safeguards will protect the vulnerable is fantasy. Elderly people will be coerced that ending to die is the right thing to do, especially when it's a small lottery win for their family. Unusual things happen to people around wills and money. For those with mental illness, the idea of true consent is complex and, if possible at all. And disabled people already often feel like they're a burden. In Oregon, often held up as a gold standard model, more and more people are choosing death due to financial or emotional distress. Let me be clear. I understand suffering. It's literally my job. I know how and why people look for an escape. If it were only about me, and if no one else were affected, I too would want the right and would vote for it. But it isn't. This will kill others, the elderly, the disabled, the voiceless, who don't truly want to die. I can't put my personal wishes above their safety. We need proper palliative care where people can have a peaceful, pain-free end, and where suffering persists, deep sedation is already an option. But right now, only 1 in 4 people actually access this. People are turning to assisted suicide not out of freedom, but out of fear and lack of support. This is not compassion, this is neglect. Labour are the party of death, and this is a shameful moment for this country. Will.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder why they've got to this point. I think the really interesting thing you said there was it wasn't part of their manifesto. And yet at the same time, this sort of kind of culture wars, university politics stuff is more easy than reforming the tax code, than, dealing with the problems around social cohesion, with the really pressing issues in this society. I feel like this is just kind of Labor falling into their comfortable university politics area, as opposed to dealing with the things that are more pressing in Britain.
I think it's a really interesting point, and I think the other interesting thing is that although it was a free vote, there was a clear Labour split to Conservatives here. 20 Conservative MPs voted for. Labour, almost all of them voted against. Labour, almost all of them voted for. That's odd in a free vote, I think.
And it's a real example, I think, of how you actually... I think having a majority in a government is a good thing because it means that you can get a decisive government. But actually, massive majorities are not always a good thing because then you don't get that scrutiny and you don't get that debate and you don't get the conscience splits that I think you need in a well-functioning parliament. And I thought that statistic that you just gave, 700 hours on fox hunting, yet hardly anything near that when it came to this bill was really shocking. I'm about a small state. I believe that actually, on principle, if I have not very long to live, it's nothing to do with the state if I want to end my life. But this isn't about, as you pointed out, personal choice. This is about what is right to legislate for. I'm really concerned about people with mental health problems, people with things like anorexia. Do you know that there have been, I think, nearly 60 deaths worldwide, assisted deaths as a result of someone having anorexia and being put on that pathway?
I would argue that somebody with anorexia has mental illness and can't consent. But I just want to get Kai's view on this, because you are one of those Labour people. Would you have voted yes?
No. On balance, no. And I think, Esther Ranson coming out after the passage of this bill and saying it was rigorous and safe is quite a joke, isn't it? Because what we've seen in this process, the bill was initially published 18 days before the first debate. You've mentioned 97 hours of debate in the House of Commons around this. Now, let's be clear, it was a private member's bill. It wasn't officially backed by the government, so the fact that it was in the manifesto isn't that much of a big deal. But actually,
if they wanted to stop this from going ahead, they could have.
But if they really wanted it to happen, it wouldn't have passed with a 23-person majority. The fact is, Kim Leadbeater, and I think lots of her parliamentary colleagues are quite angry about the way that Kim Leadbeater has led the proposal of this debate. She's been unable to rise to the importance of it. She has browbeaten and smeared opponents and denied scrutiny.
Trey, I can't help but feel here that we're not valuing life either in the womb or at the other end, on the vulnerable and the elderly.
There's quite a few things you said, because I even thought about, older people. Some people have power of attorney over their older relatives, and, if there's a nice pot of gold, it might be the case that they encourage it. But it's also weird, because I've got a personal take on it as well. I was in hospital age 15, and I was paralysed. And I went for a lot of my time dealing with health issues, thinking, I would like to end it if my health got really, really bad. I never would have done it, but I like the thought of being able to do it. Of course, everyone knows about dignitas and things like that. But I think bringing it into legislation, there are so many avenues for it to be abused. And the fact that 700 hours were spent debating fox hunting, this should be scrutinised left, right and centre. It's so rife for abuse. So rife for abuse.
I see the elderly every day who feel like they're a burden.
And that's the worst thing about how this has passed, is it's an emotive issue. That's why it was a free vote, is so many people have personal stories of themselves or a loved one. And however, we knew that there needed to be safeguards, proper safeguards, and this needed to be passed, if it did need to be passed, in a sensible way, and it just hasn't happened that way.
And also after perhaps a decent amount of funding for palliative care.
Thank
if palliative care was properly funded...
I mean, charity funds palliative care in the main.
And then they said, right, OK, it's still not working. Then at least there's scope for a debate. But they haven't even given the other option, a decent chance.
I think last time this was introduced, I think there was a previous private member's bill, if I'm correct, over a decade ago now, that had buckets more scrutiny than this one even had. You think you can have a proper debate, and we're at the point where we can have a sophisticated debate about these issues because there have been so many of these cases across the world where it's been abused.
To be honest, I think the abortion side of this is much worse and more morally abhorrent than the assisted dying side. That, for me, is one which I cannot believe that we are adopting American-style politics into the United Kingdom. Right. But surely we had the balance right on abortion before.
Yes, I think we did.
Yeah, surely in a difficult issue when you can say that a fetus is viable outside the womb at around 24 weeks, that is a reasonable time to put that limit in place. Yeah, but I can't believe that this has happened.
You know what, though? What we've seen in the last decade is US politics, whether it's on DEI or trans or whatever, being imported wholesale into the UK. On both sides, I think that's a problem.
Right, I'm going to stop you now because we've got lots more big stories on the way, everybody. But now is your chance to win, and this is where they've been trying to trip me up. £54,321, our biggest cash prize to date. All of that tax-free cash could be yours, and here's Hayley Sparks with all of the details.
This is your chance to enjoy luxury this summer. It's our biggest cash prize to date, an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. What would you do with that? With all of that cash, you could just chill out, treat yourself and indulge in the finer things in life. Somewhere like here, Downhall Hotel and Spa. You really could win the cash giveaway of the summer. Go on, treat yourself.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Welcome back. Will, tell us what's coming up.
Yeah, Nigel's been at the races this week, and it's a wonderful little insight into the warped mind of the leftist. I will give you that insight after the break.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
The GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
please bring us up to date.
Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. Now, please get in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. We really want to hear what you have to say, and I will read some out when I've calmed down a little bit, and get your questions in for Ask the Five later. But right now, it's time for our next debate. Who's going next?
Yeah, I'll take it, Renee. And as an aside, what a privilege to actually have a professional host after what we've had to deal with in recent years. Ladies and gentlemen, Nigel Farage has been at the races this week. There he is, looking resplendent. Now, who cares, you might say? Well, the left, as it turns out. Many people on social media, and in fact several people in the mainstream media, have said, how can this man looking resplendent in his top and tails understand the working class? Look at Theresa here, one of thousands of tweets along these lines saying that this man is conning the working classes. She even then goes on to say, imagine if this was Keir Starmer at the races. Well, as it turns out, and as an aside, Theresa, I think we actually have an insight into what Keir Starmer looks like at the races. Let's see this one. That was last year at Doncaster. No, Starmer doesn't do well with the working classes, and it raises a very interesting point, and that is that the left still don't understand the working class. After UKIP, after Brexit, after the example of Trump in the US, another very rich person who seems to understand the working class in a way that the traditional working class parties don't anymore. And you know the reason why they don't understand them? It is because they think that the working classes are like them. The bourgeois middle class left, and let's face it, that is the left now, seem to think that the working classes are bitter, resentful class warriors when they are not. They are aspirational, they are patriotic, and they can laugh at themselves, and that is something that Nigel Farage understands on an intrinsic level. And you know what? Guess who's ahead in the polls at the moment? If the left don't understand the working class in a way that they haven't been able to for probably 30 years now, they will lose, and they will lose badly to Reform at the next election.
Thanks, Will. I think we have to throw to Kai for this one, because these are your people.
And if I'm right, viewers have asked for a trigger warning before I speak. So.
Talking about the bourgeois middle class left. Over to you, Kai.
All right, that's enough. Look, I love this switcheroo trying to make this about class. It's not about class. People are angry because Nigel Farage is simply absent at key moments. And it really degrades...
What did he miss?
It degrades the fact that he is the leader of Reform, that he's doing so well in the polls, and yet on Tuesday he missed votes on abolishing the prosecution of women terminating a pregnancy. He's missed votes on crime and policing. You'd think he'd be interested in that. He's turned up for 36.5% of votes in Parliament, and that would be fun if it wasn't part of a pattern. The Fisheries Committee in the EU, when he was an MEP, in the last term, he skipped 2/3 of them. Now, come on. He was one of the dead last MPs for turning up and doing votes. He doesn't want to serve in Parliament.
Right,
he wants to perform.
Because I want to get everyone in. Christo.
I think that you have a very, very good point about the issue, and it's something I'm going to touch on actually as well, about the issue that people in this country have at the moment, and this really insidious loathing of people who seem to have any kind of wealth, going to the races and looking like you're enjoying yourself and you're wearing a nice outfit. No, you can't do that. You've done well for yourself. And that's something that has gone on for years, and it's gone on with successive governments. I think it started in the financial crash, actually, as well. People getting, it used to be in this country that it would be seen as a good thing if, for instance, you try and save some money on tax, you pay a bit less, you keep a bit more of your salary. But now it's this constant sniping.
So let's say... But my point is, it's not the red wall working class that are feeling that way.
Yeah.
There's a reason why that class are still so in love with the monarchy and the Queen, particularly before she passed.
Because they have aspirations.
But let me, guys, behave. Let me give the last word to Trey.
Yeah, someone who sits here bang clearly in the middle. I kind of can understand that. I think there is a sentiment amongst some people that Nigel Farage might be, putting out a certain type of image, but it may not be that authentic. I get it. I don't think it's just people on the left. I think there's
But
lots
it's not
of people
showing in the polls, is it?
No, it's not showing on the polls yet. But at the same time, I think, well, you're right. I think it's just any mud to throw at him to make it stick. And it actually makes him more Teflon, actually more stronger, because I don't think he cares, does he?
Renee, sorry. Can I say something surprising? I actually do agree with Kai. I just don't think that is the argument that most people are throwing against Farage. It is a class-based argument. But you're right. I think it is very concerning that he has missed the level of votes that he's had.
Yeah.
Right, OK, so who is up next?
Well, speaking of Kai...
Trigger warning, everybody, it's Kai.
No, Kai started speaking about himself in the third person.
I did, yeah, I should stop that. Look, it's a pleasure to be here for Renee's first go in Alex's chair. I'll miss the cheeky side-eye that I get when I say something ridiculous and she catches my eye out of camera. Look... I'm going to say, look, it's time to think the unthinkable, finally, and it might be time to rejoin the EU. Now, you want honesty, I'll give you honesty.
Ooh.
Brits want to rejoin the EU. They
I think I have made my first mess-up of the evening.
Is it not?
No, we've got to listen to Kai twice.
Is it not my go?
And I think coming up, Kai, it's going to be you. I'm sure somebody in the gallery will correct me, but I think I have done that. Yeah, so we're actually going to go to a quick break, Kai, and you can say that all over again.
Oh, no.
Even better.
With a straight face.
So...
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
The heatwave across parts of Spain, Portugal and France continues this weekend, with some places seeing temperatures peaking in the mid to high 30s or even 40 Celsius, so very hot indeed. Otherwise, and there are a few showery bursts here and there, but actually a lot of dry weather around, high pressure often in control. And if you do get any dry, sunny weather, well, it is going to feel very warm or hot indeed, and more sunshine to come as we go into the beginning of next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
please bring us up to date.
Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock, only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back, everybody. You already know who's going next, so let's get done with.
I have to shuffle my papers. What am I going to say? No, look, a poll that came out from YouGov this week showed that 56% of Brits are in favour of rejoining the EU. Now, 67% do just want a closer relationship without rejoining. But look, this is incredible. A clear majority of Brits now think that we want to rejoin the EU. And if you're surprised, well, you really shouldn't be. We were promised control, and all we got was chaos. Brexit was sold, as we know, by a bunch of snake oil merchants. Sadly, they're still with us. And what did we lose? Well, freedom of movement for Brits, especially young Brits, to live, love, work and retire freely across the 27 states. Trade access has led to paperwork mountains, customs delays, new tariffs. Erasmus axed. The political capital, we were part of the big three in the EU, gone, evaporated. Northern Ireland, we've seen a betrayal with a border in the Irish Sea. And what have we gained? Blue passports, produced, of course, in Poland, crown symbols on pint glasses, and, of course, Jacob Rees-Mogg's famed audit that found that we could maybe, what was it, change the road signs to show miles instead of kilometres or some such rubbish. I don't even remember. Look, what we've gained also is the politics of division. It's fractured the country, and there's no sign of that stopping, and it won't stop until we make the right choice and begin to get closer and closer to the EU and eventually, I hope, rejoin. It may not be now, but I think that's in our future. What do you all think?
I am going to regret. Right, no. I'm going to jump in here because I want to read you a message because I think it's the best way to start. So Chris HG says, Kai wants to be honest about rejoining the EU. He's not started well because he said the majority want to rejoin. That's only true until people are told how much we'll have to stump up to rejoin, the sacrifices we would be expected to make. Once people are given that information, the polls will change. I think Chris might be right.
I don't agree. If you weighed it against what we've lost, and just the sheer amount of loss in trade and in goods and services with the EU, the friction that we've created, I think on balance, people will make the choice to rejoin.
People don't care. May I just say congratulations. Congratulations on finding an even more annoying Ramona than me. For years, I was that annoying Ramona.
You were.
And then I shut up after the 2019 election and I listened. Brexit was an emotional decision that people made because they had been not listened to for years. The damage it would do to democracy to have a referendum again this soon would, I think, be irreparable. So I agree we've not got the Brexit that I think was sold, but I think that on balance, people don't care about those facts. They care that they were listened to and that they made their voices heard.
But these numbers have nothing to do with Brexit. Brexit is a scapegoat now for long-run social problems in this country and long-run economic problems in this country, which are then blamed on Brexit. And you can see that because every decent bit of economic news, and admittedly they're few and far between, but no one ever says that's because of Brexit, and every bad piece of economic news is blamed on Brexit. This is because the country at the moment is in a very deep, dark place and Brexit is a scapegoat.
Yeah.
That is purely what those numbers represent.
Can I just jump into to sort of always agree with both of you? Look, realistically, I don't think we should or could have a revote anytime
What am I
soon.
doing
But I
next?
actually think about being pragmatic about this. But I do agree with you. However, what we've seen in the past few years is that Brexit as a sort of pressure valve for the anger and discontent that we see across the country, that vote wasn't the end of it, right? I think every general election since has been that. And that's why we see people yo-yoing between, giving Labour a massive majority and now looking like they want to give Reform a majority. I don't think that anger has found its way out because of the Brexit.
I kind of agree with Kai a little bit. I think people feel a little bit shortchanged a little bit. We were promised a better outcome after Brexit, and it hasn't quite transpired. And I still think there's a sense of anger. I don't think the boat situation has changed. In fact, it's got a lot worse. So people are thinking, what really did we get out of it, other than some sense of autonomy? But we don't have that much autonomy.
I get that, but I think people are looking across Europe and seeing similar problems with migration that we have. Germany's in a terrible place, the Nordic countries are in a terrible place, and they're thinking, well, actually, they're in the EU and their migration is as problematic.
The big problem was that the Brexit was put in the hands of the absolutely moronic Boris Johnson.
You love Boris, don't you?
I absolutely... He is one of the most damaging characters in politics. He and Sadiq Khan, and Keir Starmer, actually, I put them all together, because immigration went up under him, and the problem is that the big fundamental problem of Brexit, he and the deal he got did not solve.
Yeah, but the bigger thing above and beyond Boris is that the execution has been left to a uni party that does not fundamentally believe in Brexit. And there's no doubt there, as a result of that, your execution is going to be off.
I almost think that Christo's point at the beginning is the most relevant, that to actually undo this deal now would damage democracy beyond repair.
Yeah, that's true.
No government is going to go near a referendum for a few decades at
Not
least.
for another quarter of a century at least.
Yeah, and I think, I don't think never, but I think certainly
a long time,
not for another couple of decades at least.
But if you want to talk about democracy being irreparably damaged, I mean, I think that's happened already.
But the thing
and it started, I think, arguably, it started with Brexit or with the Scottish referendum.
OK, well, we don't agree with you. That makes a change. Well, Christo, what have you got next?
Well, unfortunately, we are facing the highest taxes in history. Businesses are going under, people are becoming unemployed, and really, what's the point in working hard to give it all away to the government? Aspiration
and we're looking forward to hearing it
are over in the UK.
Thank you, Will.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
please bring us up to date.
Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our viewers and listeners. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Jubes, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Saturday Five. I'm just trying to keep Will in tow, honestly.
That's very
really naughty.
Says she.
Right, who's up next?
It's me.
Go for it, Chris.
OK, I want to talk about Aspiration, because my father came to the UK in the 1970s, and he and my mum were absolutely dirt poor. One of my earliest memories is them sharing a meal, and it was Thatcher's pro-business government going into the early 80s, low taxes, creating an environment where my dad, a man who left school in Greece at 11, couldn't read or write English very well, ended up working every hour he could, because he was prepared to start a business where, within a few years, my parents had a lovely house, 2 Mercedes on the driveway. That hard work and aspiration really got him somewhere, and having a government right behind him. We now live in a country where I would say that's not possible. You're taxed to oblivion. I had to write down all the taxes: income tax, national insurance for employers, VAT on school fees, stamp duty up, capital gains up. Millionaires are leaving in their droves. The number of payrolled employees is going down. Insolvencies are going up. This government is encouraging a climate of wealth, jealousy and anti-business sentiment. So, what is the point in starting a business, working hard, if the government is all going to take it away? Is ambition and aspiration just dead in the UK?
It's more than that, isn't it? Yep. Because this government doesn't understand the Laffer curve. The Laffer curve basically is if you increase taxes, less people will end up paying those taxes. And they don't fundamentally understand that if you are wealthy, you are capable of being mobile. You're capable of moving your money elsewhere. And for every millionaire that leaves this country, 50-odd people in the working or middle classes need to pick up that slack in order to make up the shortfall in that tax. This is a dire economic situation.
This is a very important point. Kai, whenever I discuss this with anyone on the left, they say, oh, let them go. If they're not cemented to the country, let them go. But what do you say to that? Because it doesn't work.
Look, I don't want to see millionaires fleeing the country. I think I'm probably of the Blairite sort of Mandelson era that says, you know, sure, people can get filthy rich if they want, but this idea that this country was always sort of aspirational and embedded ambition, I think is a myth. This country has never been. No, it's never been for the people who work hard and build businesses. That is peddled by elites to keep us compliant. But when 50% of the land is owned by 1% of the country, when 39 out of 54 UK
Is this just out of your Marxist playbook?
Went to Eton. No, what I'm saying is this country has always been for the elite. And it's not true. We've been maybe a bit more aspirational in the past. That is an immigrant. He just said it.
Don't talk over each other, guys.
But to another point, though, wealth might be fleeing, but we don't see that kind of attention from this panel given to the fact that real wages have been stagnating for 15 years. Investment as a share of GDP is plummeting. Child poverty is rising.
Yes, I do care about that.
Those are real issues. And I don't want them fleeing, but I have to say I care more about the fact that people can't put food on the table and the fact that millionaires are paying more taxes.
Do you know how wealth goes up and wages go up? They go up by creating growth. You do that with the wealthy.
Trickle-down
entrepreneurs.
And you legislate properly, firstly, for it. But the idea that we are not an aspirational nation is ridiculous. But also, you're right, real wages did stagnate. Isn't it interesting, though, when anyone actually ties that to immigration, people on the left of the debate absolutely shriek in horror. And again, it's not just about the people fleeing. It's about people who are here who might say, right, I want to start a business. I want to work hard.
Okay.
And why would they?
Right,
why would they
so
now?
I think we've all established that Kai's talking nonsense, so I'm going to just move to Trey. Trey, what have you got?
So, I've got the story this week of a councillor that apologised for basically saying that the Union Jack should be removed, and I want to say something about that. So, they say there ain't no black in a Union Jack, and I heard a lot about that growing up, and like many others, I felt a sense of unease around the flag. But as I got older, I knew that that was wrong. You see, there ain't no black in Union Jack, but there is red. Red that runs deep, centuries deep, soaked in the soil from every corner of the empire. Red for the blood spilled by black Africans, by Indian Muslims, Sikhs, Hindus, West Indians, the Irish, the Commonwealth, and of course, millions of white British soldiers, all serving an empire regardless of their status in that empire. So no, there ain't no black in the Union Jack, but there's blood. And that blood runs from all of us. Maybe it's time we stopped being afraid of the flag. Maybe it's time we reclaimed it, not as a symbol of exclusion and division, but of truth and recognition. Maybe it's time we honoured everybody who bled for it, everyone who helped build the great in Great Britain.
Well, it's always been, I think, a feature of the liberal elites in this country that they have this self-flagellating instinct about the country, that they equate the Union Jack with colonialism, with empire, with all the bad sides. You know, it was Orwell that said years and years ago that the rich would rather steal from the poor box than be seen to be supporting the United Kingdom. This is just this continuation of this self-flagellating instinct in the Western world that equates patriotism with the far right or fascism, and it's something which we need to get a handle on. I think you've said it very well, Trey.
Yeah, I think there's the other thing, though. I think I did grow up hearing that a lot. There ain't no black in Union Jack, and if a dog is born in a stable, it doesn't make it a horse. And I think there have been elements of the far right that have said there ain't no black in Union Jack, therefore you don't belong. And I think for someone like me of Nigerian descent, my ancestors gave to this country way before they even set foot on this country. And I think that message is often not shared with people, where people don't feel they belong. Mate, and I think we need something that unifies us like a flag.
Mate, that sort of rhetoric isn't coming from the far right. That sort of rhetoric is coming from the liberal left.
It is.
They're the ones who are trying to say that this is a racial thing. It's not the far right that's got anything to do with saying that this is somehow racial. It is the class and race-obsessed.
But that was a BNP,
BNP
slogan.
No. So I think Trey is right. Bear in mind that I went through the 80s with a black man as my partner. I have witnessed this too. But I think that was then. This is now. And I don't think proper people feel about this now, but I think it suits the left to use it to divide people, because the left divide people.
I think... Look, I'm not saying we should jettison the Union Jack, but the fact that Trey grew up on, there ain't no black in the Union Jack, that suggests that this is not some new fad. No. But what I would say is, similarly, I grew up in Wales. My whole family is Welsh, pretty much. And it's a common refrain again and again. There's no Wales in the Union Jack. You've got the white saltire of St Andrew, you've got the cross of St George, the red saltire of St Patrick. There is no Welsh at all in the Union Jack. Now, despite that, actually, yes, fewer of Welsh people support the Union Jack, 68% compared to 80% of English people. But actually, Scots are the ones who dislike it the most, and 25% apparently associate it with racism. So there is a question to be asked about what does it mean to be British, and you can't just force people to reclaim a Union Jack or believe in it. The fact is, we are where we are, and there are some people, quite aside from the racial elements, just don't believe in it.
And it's for that reason, because people don't see that their own ancestors actually fought and bled for that flag. And I think if people got that they did, they will see that they're also stakeholders. And I think that's what we need. Almost like, well, what is it to be British?
So we come back to the question, therefore, is how do we do it? Do we insist, do we legislate that we put the Union Jack in all classrooms, in all government buildings?
We just need to stop focusing. We've all been through it, whether you are gay, whether you're straight, whether you are black, whether you are white. There is things in history which have been terrible for so many people. But at some point, we have to try and get back together. We have to be united. We have to draw a line under things, acknowledge it, obviously have a nod to it, know that it was there, but we have to talk more about what unites us than divides us. And we are obsessed in this country because of the freedoms we enjoy, with probably good intention, because we've such good freedom of speech to a point in this country, with dissecting all of the issues of the past without actually going, you know what, it's quite all right at times. The people in this country are great, and the politicians not so.
So what do we say to the Welsh?
Well, again, I'm of Greek descent, but I'm part Welsh. Got to get over it.
Can I propose a response? And also this goes for the Scots even more so. The fact is, you contributed quite a lot to Empire and all that, so if you want to look back in anger, then you might want to start with yourselves.
Well, exactly right. Empire, the British Empire was a force for tremendous good across the world. A force for tremendous good.
I think it's really interesting if you look at the comments that are coming through on this, and they are almost unanimously in praise of what you've just said. You know, Catherine Blatchley says, nice one, Trey, brilliant, unite the United Kingdom. Jackie Phoenix, thank you, I love the Union Jack. Richard, oh no, not that one, that was about you using Jack instead of flag. Patrick O'Sullivan, as a first, I agree. There is a class structure that we need to overcome. I think it is very interesting that most people are agreeing. And I think we have to find a way to move forward, not to look back at what we've done in the past. We can't change it.
Yeah, and it's a bit like what Mandela did, isn't it? Sort of the truth and reconciliation, because you might say that the British Empire was a force for good, but there are a lot of suffering that also happened. So it's about acknowledging that without punishing necessarily, but at least acknowledging that it happened, and I think that will start healing. Because there are a lot of people that feel they don't belong, even though they have given so much.
It's the only
So I'm not looking at it from a left-wing point of view where it's bad to be British and the Empire just stood for bad things. There were a lot of great things done, but you have to acknowledge the things that weren't so great.
For the last 20 years, we've done nothing but acknowledge the bad stuff. What we haven't acknowledged is spreading the rule of law and democracy to parts of the world that never would have otherwise had them. Rights for women,
spreading
rights
democracy.
for minority groups, all of these sorts of good things that the British Empire did immense good for. That's the stuff we don't hear about now.
That's a different conversation, because I'm sure someone in Libya with bombs raining on them from NATO may not say spreading democracy was good.
What's Libya got to do with it?
Because you're talking about spreading democracy. I think this is what we need to do. I think the flag should be in every school. We should potentially look at singing the national anthem. There should be something that starts to connect. Why are you saying awful? But see, that's one of the problems.
We have our own anthem.
Okay, wait. But okay, everyone should look at how can we actually start to get together as a nation rather than the division that we're going on, which you say will end up at a civil war. I'm trying to avert that. What brings us, what unites us rather than what divides us. That's why I'm interested in it.
I love the Union flag. The first response shouldn't be, but what about racism? What about the Empire?
Yeah,
what about
shouldn't be,
it shouldn't be. Sometimes you should just be able to celebrate it. There's a time for conversations like that, but we just seem to have them constantly when anyone shows any kind of patriotism.
And yet,
I think that's wrong.
It is overwhelming in your say. Really, you're telling us all the way through. There are people saying, Kai, we love you, and those like you, you're a decent fellow with a good head on your shoulders. She just says she's embarrassed in saying that. But, you know...
Kai or Trey?
Sorry, Trey.
Even Kai knew that wasn't true.
Excited then.
It can't be me.
OK, sorry about that.
I was getting so excited.
That was PW. Sorry, PW. OK, so, everybody, hush. Loads more to come on the show tonight, everybody, including the Saturday Scrap. What do you want us to debate? Getting involved in Iran, banning Palestine action or weight loss jabs. Go and vote GBNews.com poll. And what's going on at our biggest migrant processing centre? You are with the Saturday 5, only on GB News, and we want to hear from you. Your views are really, really important, and I will read out more. This is my first night doing this, so it's quite hard to pull it all together. But please do send us your comments. I will read them out, and I will also go to Ask the Five later. So please get typing and enjoy what's coming after the break.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. For some of us, this first half of the weekend could be ending with a bang, particularly for northern areas of England into southern Scotland. There's the potential for some severe thunderstorms to push through during the next few hours. Large hail, frequent lightning and some torrential downpours of rain are possible, so do take care. A few sharp showers and localised thunderstorms are possible elsewhere, particularly Northern Ireland into western Scotland during the second half of the night. But up in the northwest, it's going to be feeling fresher during this forthcoming nights, but still holding on to quite a muggy feel across parts of the southeast as we kick off Sunday morning. There'll be a touch of cloud just clearing off the southeast first thing, but it generally is here where we'll have the brightest start to the day, to a decent amount of sunshine in there already. Temperatures readily in the morning, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. The cloud will tend to build though, and that's because we've got showers pushing their way in from the west, particularly for areas of western and northern Scotland first thing on Sunday. Again, they could be on the sharp, heavy side at times. But they'll continue to spread into other areas during the day, so Northern Ireland and northern areas of England in particular could see a downpour from time to time. There'll be some sunny spells in between all of that, and it will be quite a breezy day for the vast majority of us, though that breeze may help it make it feel a touch more comfortable compared to the hot days we have had around of late. Still the high 20s possible across the south east, 27, 28 degrees Celsius, but closer towards average now, 15 to 18 across the northwest. Into the new week then, low pressure is going to be taking control and providing a more changeable and settled theme at times. Quite tightly spaced isobars mean it will be quite breezy and blustery for many of us into this new week. The showers though will always be most frequent and heaviest up towards the north, closer towards the centre of the area of low pressure. Those towards the southern half of the UK should see a decent amount of sunshine in there on Monday, and in that sunshine it will still feel fresher though compared to the highs that we've seen around of late, around the mid-20s of Celsius. See you later, bye-bye.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on,